It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard. You liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out, and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
Internal strength that has caused our community to be the survivors, the fighters, the advocates of all that is right and just about America for our entire history here. So it's time for us now to recapture our roots and make certain that they are the anchors that are going to sustain us and future generations, because we have got to reach out to future generations. We've got to see them taking the helm. I think that any person who categorizes himself or herself as a leader but is not prepared to pass the baton is less than a leader. You need to prepare someone to assume the role that you are currently occupying. And if you think you can occupy it all of your life, I think you're misguided.
Well, actually, the thought came to mind when you said how no matter how docile, it made me think to myself that sometimes we get pushed against the wall and then we push against each other instead of pushing against the actual force that we need to act against. And I'm just hoping that people can come to a rational, practical mindset and say, no, we're not going to have it anymore, and we're not going to take it out on each other.
I am probably more research-oriented than I ought to be. I had a conversation recently with my sister, and she says, there you go with that research again. And I thought, okay, am I that research-oriented? But there is also a body of research that says that when a person is under attack with a great deal of regularity, they often lash out at the people who are closest to them. And it doesn't really matter whether the person is trying to help them or not. You just happen to be in close proximity. You're a convenient target. And so I think you're right. There's a great deal to be said for the people that we actually attack. And that leads us to a point of having a community conversation in terms of who the enemy really is. We have people in our community, and people complain about them all the time as of late, and they say, there are no black folk working for us. All the black folk downtown are working for other interests. And I stop them and I ask them if they would just do us all a favor and look up the term mercenary. When a person is hired to do a particular thing, skin color is not important. Whether or not I identify with your philosophical leanings is not important. What is important is that I do what I've been instructed to do, and at the end of doing it, I'm going to get paid. And we know that armies for generations, centuries, have fought because they were paid. They didn't believe in the cause, and that's why a lot of armies actually fail, because when the money stopped, the soldiers walked off. So we've got to get some soldiers that are enlisted in our cause who understand that the cause is bigger than any one of us. It is a collective undertaking, and we must all participate.
That is so true. Well, we do have a leader, you mentioned leader, who has a cause, has an issue that needs to be addressed with the strength and support of the community. Tell us about that.
Most of you know by now, because you are a very astute municipality, that Reverend David Alexander Bullock, and I've dubbed him Reverend Dr. Fearless, has been confronted by law enforcement in the city of Highland Park that has escalated now to the extent that the Michigan Department of Police is also involved. And I'm still scratching my head trying to figure out why the state is involved in a
Yeah.
local issue. But factually, Reverend Dr. Bullock a few weeks ago had discharged his congregation from worship. And the congregants were en route to their cars, and some of them noticed that there was a woman trying to break windows in cars, and she struck at a number of the parishioners, and they concluded that there obviously was something wrong with her when they tried to stop her and rationalize with her, and she was just totally irrational. So Reverend Dr. Bullock went back inside, called the police, and said, "We've got a situation here. Would you please send someone? We need to address this concern because we have a woman that we think may be a danger to herself or to others, and we need some serving and protecting by the police department." And so Highland Park sent 2 officers, neither of which lived in the city of Highland Park, neither of which were officers of color. And those officers arrived on the scene, and Reverend Dr. Bullock attempted to explain to them what was going on. As the leader of his flock, you would expect him to assume that role. So while he was in the process of explaining to them what was going on, they seemingly decided that they had enough information and they wanted him, quote unquote, out of the way. So they told him to go to the other side of the street. And so he turned back towards them in an effort to let them understand that perhaps you don't understand the dynamics of this situation. I'm the pastor of this church. I'm the person responsible for making the call to you. I'd like to explain to you who we think the perpetrator is and what we can do to assist you in arresting the situation. The officers by that time were exacerbated in their estimation by what they thought was an escalating situation. None of us can quite figure that out, but they physically picked Reverend Bullock up and carried him across the street and placed him on the sidewalk as if he were a child in timeout. Now, imagine Reverend Bullock is 5'7". He weighs 145 pounds. One of the officers, arresting officers, weighed 240 pounds, was 6'5". Having a father who was 6'5", that's a tall guy. My father was a slender 6'5". This guy was not. He was bulky, and as I understand it, had tattoos from his wrist up to his neck. So when they moved Reverend Bullock, they then decided that he was such a threat that they needed to place him in handcuffs. So they handcuffed him and decided that they were going to put him in the back of the police cruiser. His parishioners, believing in God as they were trained to believe, knelt and started to pray. And Reverend Bullock politely asked them to get up, turn their video cameras on, start to videotape the facts as they were occurring, and to follow the police officers as they were taking him to police headquarters. In the process, the police decided that they would not take the direct route. Most of us know that Highland Park is, I think, 2.3 or 3.2 miles. It's a very small city, so you can get from point A to point B and be outside the city in a heartbeat. And so they took him down a side street, and the police officer who was driving stopped the car and looked at Reverend Bullock in the back seat, handcuffed, and said, "You know we're the police, right? You know we can do whatever we want to do to you, right?" And Reverend Bullock, first in a state of shock, one, that he's been arrested, two, he's in handcuffs in the back of a cruiser. His congregation is watching all of this transpire, and he has 2 officers that he can't reason with. And so they proceed to take him to the police headquarters. They put him in a jail cell, handcuffed, and then the officer comes back and says, "If you'll take these tickets, I'll make certain that you get out of here by Thursday." This is on Sunday. And he says, "I would like to make a phone call so that I can call my lawyer." He says, what is your name? He said, I'd like to make a phone call so that I can call my lawyer. And so the officer says, well, I'm going to charge you basically with obstructing a police investigation, and I'm also going to charge you with giving me false information. No information in his estimation was false information. So by this time, the police chief, as I understand the facts, has learned that the person that has just been taken to lockup is, in fact, Reverend David Alexander Bullock, and so he asked that the prisoner be brought to him. So Reverend Bullock is taken to Chief Logan. They have a conversation. Shortly thereafter, he's released. He is not fingerprinted. He leaves the police department. He has a press conference shortly thereafter to let the community know what's going on. The police department then decides several days later that they want to fingerprint him. So they send him a notice and they say, you are to present yourself for fingerprinting by X date. Now, we are not real sure as a community how we got to this point, but what we do know is we are at this point. We are at a point of Reverend Bullock having a court appearance today at 2 o'clock at the Highland Park Municipal Building, a court appearance. The address is 12050 Woodward Avenue. That's the address of the municipal building in the city of Highland Park. At 1 p.m. at the same address, we are going to have a rally in support of Reverend Dr. Bullock. I sent him a text message and I told him that he belongs to us and no one else can have him. So we have to demonstrate to him, as he has demonstrated to us so many times before, that he had our backs and we need to have his back. We need to be there as a show of support. We need to rally. We need to flood the streets of Highland Park with people. We need to fill the courtroom to capacity with people as we show him that we love him, we support him, we're going to be there for him no matter what. And Theo, I have to thank you for this opportunity because this is the same platform that we used when Skrill of New Era Detroit, also known as James Eberhardt, was charged with 3 felonies.
Yes.
We put the call out. We went to court with him every day for 4 days in the dead of winter, January, downtown Detroit, Frank Murphy Hall of Justice. We cried out for justice. We helped him to lawyer up. We talked to our friends who were judges and we let them understand that we know you can't affect the politics of this, but we just want you to know that the community is not happy. 4 days later, we were able to get all 3 of his felony convictions dropped.
All right.
He is a free man with no stain on his record whatsoever.
Oh, that is so wonderful.
We have to do the same thing in this instance, Metro Detroit. We have to show up and let the powers that be know that Reverend David Alexander Bullock, a.k.a. Reverend Dr. Fearless, belongs to us. When he was there for Demetrius Grimes, he went up to Diamonddale and he confronted Captain Etu, the head of the Michigan Police Agency. He confronted her directly. When Aisha Jones was killed on her grandmother's sofa, he was there. When Sanders was wrongfully convicted and held in prison despite the fact that he had some mental deficiencies, Reverend Dr. David Alexander Bullock was there. He is always there for us. And it is now time for us to be there for him.
Right.
Now, I'm from the dinosaur era, so forgive me. I brought some cards here that I will be taking. These are physical cards that I'm going to be giving to Reverend Dr. David Alexander Bullock later today. This one has a puppy on the front and it says, I'm thinking. And on the inside it says, you deserve some thanking with an exclamation point. This one, front cover reads, have faith. Inside it reads, the Lord will see you through even a tough time like this. This one, the front, reads, there are people in our lives who are so genuinely kind-hearted, appreciating them just comes naturally. Thank you.
Those are nice.
This one, the front reads, "You can do it!" Exclamation point. And inside it reads, "And by it, I mean anything." So these cards I'm going to sign on behalf of the community, and I'm going to hand them off to Reverend Dr. Bullock when I get to the rally at 1 o'clock today. I am not as independently wealthy as I would like to be, but I have a $100 bill that will go inside these cards. This $100 bill is coming from me. This is starting a chain gift. This is our telethon, Theo, to make certain that we raise money for Reverend Dr. Bullock's defense. Give him gifts. There are no tax consequences associated with gifts. Give him a gift today when you see him. Put cash money in his hand because his lawyers must be paid. He must put gas in his car. He must collect himself. He must be ready to fight. The best time to fight an opponent is when the opponent is not ready to fight back. That's the best time to fight him. But when he is ready to fight you, when he has strategized, when he has studied you. I used to play football. I was the quarterback. Yes, I played football. And one of the things that you do in football is you study the old tapes. Kabiti, you know this.
Yes.
You look at the moves of all of the players and you figure out how they run that ball. You look to see what openings they're looking for. You look to see what tackle is going to protect that quarterback. You want to make certain that he gets from point A to point B, which is in that goalpost. Okay? So we're going to study all of our adversaries in this case, and we're going to make certain that Reverend Dr. David Alexander Bullock is ready to bring us home another victory. We want to win in the win column with this situation. We want to put people on notice that they cannot come into our community, impose themselves upon us, and there be no consequences. Incidentally, Theo, you and I were talking about this earlier. The arresting police officer is from Bay City.
Oh, yes. We remember that report when the officer had committed some similar offenses and he was fired.
Exactly.
And I just wonder, how is it that you can relocate, apply for a job, and not be vetted? That means researched for any of your issues that have come up on your previous job.
Exactly.
So that was, unless someone was doing somebody a favor, you know, it's necessary to research the employees, particularly in that department. And Highland Park, if I'm not mistaken, has a police commission. So perhaps we want to look into filing with the police commission as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. We need to make certain that we attack this on every front. We do not need to leave any of our fronts unprotected. Wherever there's a weakness, that's where the enemy is going to concentrate.
Right, right.
One thing I find interesting is that Bay City, of all places, that's as alien to city culture and the people that would inhabit city culture. I mean, he has no idea what he's dealing with. I don't know how long he's been on the force, but let me ask, will he, since he's got to come in for fingerprinting, so the charges when he left Chief Logan, there were no charges at that time at all, or it's hard to say?
He was not fingerprinted before he left, and he was given a couple of tickets. They were misdemeanor offenses. This is a situation that I think has gotten completely out of control. As I said, the Michigan State Police Department is now involved, and we don't know why. Why would the Michigan State Police Department be involved in something that happened in Highland Park? Clearly within the boundaries of the city of Highland Park. But Kabiti, you raised an interesting point in terms of what the officer knew or didn't know about the community and how to interface with it. When we allowed our legislators to take residency away from us, we allowed home rule to actually be eviscerated. Because if people don't know the communities from which they are expected to perform a service, it's very difficult for them to protect that service. So if the officer had gone over to Greater St. Matthews and encountered Reverend Dr. David Alexander Bullock, and he were from Highland Park, the city of Detroit, the city of Flint, Saginaw, Muskegon Heights, he would have known who Dr. Bullock was, and he never would have treated him in the manner that he treated him. And the flip side of that is, if this officer is from Bay City, he knows who the prominent pastors are in Bay City. He wouldn't treat a prominent pastor this way. But the point of the matter is, it does not matter how prominent the pastor is. We are all Americans with constitutional rights, and there is some respect that is built into our system. It's called civility.
Right.
And you would not have expected this.
No, definitely not. The street on which it took place, was that a city street, county, or state street?
It was a city street. It was on LaBelle in Highland Park.
So that raises the question again, why were the state police officers there?
We have no idea.
And now they showed up after the Highland Park
No, I
police showed up?
understand. No, I understand
Oh.
that they are a part of the investigation now, and I can't figure that one out because jurisdictionally, we have boundaries for particular reasons. That's because we divide up the workload. We don't have everybody working everywhere doing everything. If that were the case, we could have a shooting in the city of Detroit and pick up the phone and call Homeland Security and say, would you come over here and take care of this? Or we could call ATF, or we could call the FBI. We can't call them because jurisdictionally, they have no right to come into the city of Detroit and deal with local affairs.
Right.
When Butch Hollowell was brought up on charges relative to the situation on Woodward Avenue, the basis for having that case eventually thrown out was that Wayne County Sheriff's Department had no jurisdiction in the city of Detroit because the incident occurred at 7 Mile and Woodward Avenue.
Oh, wait a minute. 7 Mile is a county road.
It's Woodward Avenue, right at 7 Mile.
Oh, so it was on Woodward.
It's on Woodward.
7.
No, the donut shop is on Woodward Avenue. It's near the corner of 7 Mile.
Okay.
So he was in the city of Detroit.
For lunch. Okay. But anyway, this issue is strange. Now, there is a emergency manager
Yes.
who is in charge of a school district that does not exist.
Yes.
And Highland Park has a school board over a school district that does not exist. Now, he was just recently given some ungodly amount of money for being in charge of something that doesn't exist. Do you know if it was expanded to the whole city or only the school district?
As I understand it, the city of Highland Park is not currently under emergency management as a municipality.
Okay, so then that brings us back to the same question. Why are the state police investigating if Highland Park is not under state supervision?
You know,
Would you
the
really
state
do
of
that?
Michigan is a strange animal, and it does things that defy all logic. So when the state made the grand announcement that the city of Detroit was no longer under emergency management, if you look at the fine print, you know that there was a financial review board that still had its hands on the finances of the city of Detroit. So the emergency management was not completely lifted. Is that the case in Highland Park? I don't know. If you notice, if you owe the city of Detroit income taxes now, you don't pay to the city of Detroit, you pay to the state of Michigan. Now, the question for us becomes, where does our money go? Nobody knows.
Right.
We know we don't see it at work in our community.
And
that much we know.
how much of it goes? How
Exactly.
many people are paying? Do the Canadians pay? I put in that question to find out. Last time I researched it, there were 4,000. Can you imagine that? With all of the unemployment we have here, 4,000 Canadians coming here to work. So my question is, do they pay city taxes? Are they under a contract? You know, so it would end up having to be voluntary, as they would not take taxes out of their paycheck. and they just amble right on back across the bridge or through the tunnel, where they would get an automatic raise because our money has a higher value than Canadian money. How about that?
Well, you can disagree
have a
with
caller. Okay.
President Trump as much as you want, but he is right on the trade imbalance. There's a serious trade imbalance in our country. Now, I'm not suggesting that the manner in which he is dealing with it is the correct approach. I'm not suggesting that at all. But what I am saying is, as you point out, there is a serious trade imbalance.
Yeah, there are a lot of kind of trades. There's the sex slave trade that's going on, and the body parts trade that's
Yes.
going on, and he wants to build.
Body organs.
Yes, and he wants to build what is
A
it?
wall.
A wall on the southern border. He needs to build a wall between Canada and the United States.
Oh, I don't
We
think you'll
have
get
a-
that wall.
No, we have a caller.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
War New Comcast 91.
Thanks for calling.
This is my question.
We haven't heard it yet.
First of all, as far as state police getting involved in Highland Park, I understand that started a couple of years ago or so that a number of agencies have created a kind of crew, and they go into each other's jurisdictions, or they collectively deal with an issue. And the state police, for instance, I heard this attorney on WHPR say that cities are the creatures of the state, and the state can do whatever they want to with them. So I think that's why. Now, I want to ask, what did David Bullock do to even have the police come out? I want to support him too, by the way.
Okay.
But what did he do, and does Kim Worthy have charges against him?
He asked the police officers to listen to him. That's what he did.
Did you hear earlier when she was describing what had happened on the bell in front
I'm
of his
sorry, I
church?
tuned in a little late.
Yeah, okay. Well,
He, in essence, called the police to address a situation wherein a woman appeared to be mentally challenged. She was trying to break out car windows in his church parking lot and trying to assault some of his members. And he called the police to ask them to come and intervene. And when they came to intervene and he tried to explain to them what was going on, they decided that they had heard enough. They didn't want to hear anything else from him. They asked him to move. He started to turn to talk to them again to let them understand, perhaps you don't understand, I'm the pastor of the church. I'm the person who called. We want to explain to you what's going on so that hopefully we can arrest the situation and we can have as less difficulty associated with this arresting as possible. They decided to physically pick him up and move him, and then decided to handcuff him, put him in the back of a police cruiser, take him not directly to the police department, but down a side street, and let him understand that they were the police, and told him in no uncertain terms that they could do whatever they wanted to do to him. So we have a court hearing today at 2 p.m. at 12050 Woodward Avenue. We are having a rally at the same address at 1 p.m. today. We are going to show Reverend Dr. David Alexander Bullock that we are very supportive of him no matter what. We are asking everybody to bring any gift that they can give him, cash gift that they can hand off to him to help him to do whatever it is he needs to do. I'm starting the telethon here on the Theo Broden Show with this $100 bill. I have several cards that I have read to the listening and viewing audience that I will be signing on behalf of the community. We need to show him, in my estimation, as much love as we can show him so that he knows that no matter what, this is his community. He has fought the best of fights for us. He's invested in us, and we need to invest in him.
So this hasn't gotten to the Wayne County level yet, right? It's still in the local district as far as charges. Now, what's the name of the charges?
We're not real clear. We think that a ticket was issued for interfering with the police investigation, and another one for false information, something along that line. You can hear more clearly, of course, when we go to court today. We're going to be taking very copious notes of what happens today.
Yeah, this is a tragedy. Isn't this something you call the police for assistance?
Yeah, for
They
assistance.
wind up
Right,
arresting you.
right, right.
So it seems
So-
like something is,
At 1 o'clock today,
you know, his
we'll be
activism.
gathering.
You know how it is when you step out and fight the power.
right.
And Chief Logan, that's his name right now, Highland Park.
Yes.
Correct.
He really needs to do something with those upstate police officers coming down into our neighborhoods. It's just,
Well, if you remember, he was responsible for the state police being removed from the 9th precinct. The 9th precinct is where the 15-year-old was tased by a state police officer when he was riding an ATV in the street. And the officer was in his vehicle, and it was like a drive-by shooting. And when the taser hit the child, it caused him to lose control of the ATV that he was riding on.
right.
And he hit a car pickup or something. Anyway, he died, okay? And
Yes.
Reverend Bullock was instrumental in bringing attention to that, bringing attention to the fact that state police were in a neighborhood. They need to be on the freeway if they're going to be anywhere, and out of the neighborhoods, especially when you have officers
You know
like
what
that.
makes me so mad?
What's that?
Is that our so-called public officials that we put into office, they don't speak up when injustices are committed
Yes.
anymore. I mean,
Well,
they used to. Coleman
Right.
Young used to.
well,
Irma Henderson,
City Council
Clyde
back with Irma
Cleveland.
Henderson used
Right.
to.
right.
Clyde Cleveland.
But now these people act like they in some kind of crew and they don't say nothing.
Or maybe they're afraid. Let me say this. Tomorrow night at Third New Hope Church on Plymouth is the evening city council meeting. Now, that's the Detroit City Council. And the same thing would apply to them because the 9th precinct is in Detroit. But these may be the friends of the officers that were taken out of the 9th precinct. But I hope to see you today at 1 o'clock at 12050 Woodward Avenue in front of their courthouse. And we're going into the courtroom at 2 p.m. But thank you.
That's the
So we
Highland
have
Park
some-
City Hall too, right?
That's correct. Highland Park City
Yeah,
Hall.
okay.
Yes, yes. So we have to
All right.
go to the next callers. But thank you for calling us and call again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Hi, Dee Dee. I'm viewing you guys on the internet.
Oh, thanks for calling, Didi. What's
Great
up?
show.
Thank you.
Wanted to find out, does anyone know the racial makeup of the Highland Park Police Department? That's my first question.
It appears to be all white. How many cops do they have? 2? They have a very small
I
police
saw-
department.
3 police officers on the Facebook
Okay.
video.
Okay.
The car pulled up to
So
the
they got-
person that was videotaping,
Okay.
rolled his window down, and
Uh-huh.
kind of pulled his arm up to show his badge. Like, get this.
Oh,
Okay.
my. And he was white?
Yes, there was
Okay.
two males, white, and 1 female, white, and the tape they had left already with Reverend Dr. Bullock.
Oh, so they have 3 white police officers. Okay.
No, it has to be 4 or more because how many were in the police car, Dieta, with Reverend Bullock?
There were 2.
Okay.
So that would be 5 white.
5? Okay.
It was 3 on the videotape
Okay.
and the 2 in the car, and we didn't see that one.
Oh, okay.
So those are the only
5.
police officers they could.
Well, it
There are
appears
some
that
black
way.
police officers.
That was
in
my
Highland
In
Park.
Highland
question.
Park?
Yes, if you drive down Woodward Avenue, driving anywhere from 39 plus miles per hour upward, you will see the black police officers. They're out there writing tickets.
Okay.
Okay, last question. Oh, I'm getting old, Theo. I forgot my question.
Now listen, for you and everybody else that's tuned in, you know that the PD always says have pen and paper
Pen and paper.
handy in case there's something you want to jot down, and that would be including your questions.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, you
Bye-bye.
call back if you think of it.
Okay, bye-bye.
Hello, you're on the air with Hood Research, and our guest this morning is Deetta Wilcoxon.
Good morning. This is Minister Burrell. I'm viewing on Comcast 91.
Okay.
Mr. Wilcoxon, is it possible you could give me a contact number?
I don't have a contact number that I can give you over the airwaves.
Okay, maybe I'll call the front desk and leave my number there then.
Thank
That
you
would be
so
fine.
much.
Please call me urgently. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
God bless all of you. God bless you.
Well, thank you.
You understand what?
Eh,
My sister Deetta. You understand what I'm saying?
Is this
Yes, I
And
Acha?
Theo
Acha.
and my brother, Mr. Bishop David Alexander Bullock is the baddest man in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
And you, I knew that this has been happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
For people that speak up for black folks,
Mm-hmm.
for disparity, inequity, racism, segregation, hatred, killing, pig killers, Snyder poisoning 100,000 people in Flint,
Yep.
Duggan, Tarzan, disenfranchising, foreclosure, eviction notices on black folks, half of the people in the city of Detroit. What you expect? Bullock is an aggressive black man fighting for justice for people, his flock.
Right. Well,
In
what
fact,
I
he's one of the only preachers. He's one of the only preachers. Him and Mr. Williams is the only preachers that's fighting for black folks that I know of, and I've been out in the street for 33 years.
what I
So,
expect,
Acha,
what I
anything,
expect is for the members of
obstructing
our
justice,
hold on,
fail to obey,
hold on.
refuse to submit,
Mm-hmm.
resisting arrest. He gonna take my gun. He got a gun. Anything to kill a black man.
Right. Well,
These
Acha.
killer pigs need to pay the highest penalty.
Right. Take a breath.
They need to go to prison and be subject to the electric chair.
Okay. Now,
I mean, this crap has gotten out of hand.
That's right. Take a breath. You said, what do you expect? We expect
Yeah.
the community to support Reverend David
Right on.
Bullock today at 1 o'clock. At 1 o'clock.
Highland Park.
At 1 o'clock in Highland Park. At 120
Between Davidson and Manchester.
Woodward Avenue. Well, that's a
Yeah.
long stretch. But it's
Well-
at the it's at the courthouse.
Some people don't know. Well, some people don't know where it is. So
Well,
Deanna,
that's true.
You
I think it's
explain the
I think it's
the address. Give
a
it to
block
us again.
south of the library, 12050 Woodward Avenue. And we expect that you'll be able to see the crowd gathered there at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock, I'm expecting our members of the community to go inside to support him as well. Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
All right. We got it. We own it. We own it. We got to continue. We got to continue protesting, marching, demonstrating, and to make it simplify the whole thing. Negroes need to keep their money in their pocket. If they wouldn't have to protest. You don't want to walk. You don't want to stand out in the hot sun. Keep your money in your pocket.
Acha,
That will solve 70% of our problems.
Acha, can I just?
And you know, one last thing.
Yes, one last thing.
This Kanye West statement.
Oh.
I know he didn't change his plantation name to Kardashian. Kardashian.
Kardashian.
Kardashian. But he made a statement
the girl's last name.
that shook up the whole country.
Mm-hmm.
Negroes enjoyed slavery. Now you look at the city council, you look at the Wayne County commissioners, you look at the mayors, Freeman Hendrick, Dennis Archer, Dave Bing, just go up and down the line. Tate, Scott Benson, the whole crew. You look at the whole, even the Black Caucus in Washington. You look, except Mary Waters. I mean, what's that girl that's the lady that Harriet Tubman in Los Angeles?
Maxine Waters.
Maxine, Maxine. We need to follow her lead too. We need to follow her lead too.
Acha.
Okay.
Okay.
Acha.
All right. Thank you for calling.
Yeah.
I agree with you in that we need to keep our money in our pockets, and I think that's synonymous with keeping it in our community. But today, can we take it out of our pockets and give part of it to Reverend Dr. David Alexander Bullock, Reverend Dr. Fearless, so that we can give him some gifts? Those love offerings that you used to give at church, can you just bring those to him today?
Well, he needs to get all the tithe money from all the black people in Michigan. David Bullock deserves the tithe money.
All right.
He's the only one that's doing something for black folk.
That's
he ain't buying Rolls Royces, Bentleys, living out Bloomfield, swimming pool, the Detroit preachers and the L.A. hypocrites, the damn preacher.
Okay.
The damn preacher. Y'all need to look that up on the internet. Pull up Bishop Bonner, the damn preacher must be killed.
Well, thank you so much.
The damn preacher must be killed by Bishop Bonner.
All right. Thank you for your input. We have to go to the next call and encourage others to come today at 1.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
Is that me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning. My name is Barbara.
Thanks for calling, Barbara.
TV 33.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The building is located at the corner of California and Woodward.
Thank you.
It's south of Glendale. Thank you. Have a good day.
We really appreciate that.
And Glendale is right at the corner of the block that used to have Nandy's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So if you were at what used to be Nandy's, you can actually look over across the street, kitty corner, to City Hall. If you look directly across the street from Nandy's, you see what used to be, well, it's a service station, and then what used to be Charter One Bank, then the library, and then an open area, and then the City Hall. So it is south of the library in Highland Park on Woodward, on the east side of the street.
All right. 12050 Woodward.
Yes.
Hello, you're on the air with Hood Research and Deetta Wilcoxon, our guest this morning. Your name and how you're viewing us?
Hello, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine. Your name?
I'd rather not say. Yes. I noticed the city of Detroit and city Capitol Hill come to the sewer debt. I want to know, how am I going to pay a sewer debt to one of the apartments? And then you put it around and you're charging me a sewer or my tax bill. And on top of that, you are charging for the school.
Gloria, how are you?
It was written off in that mortgage bankruptcy.
How are you watching us? We can't hear
I
you.
have ordered from Vatican to offset all citizens' debt.
Are you on a speakerphone?
And to return
You're not
whatever
clear.
leftover funds to every
You
child,
are not-
woman, and nothing.
Gloria, you're not
I just need
clear.
the paper.
You're not
Pardon?
clear. You are not clear. Are you on a speakerphone?
Let's do it that way.
You just get off the speaker so you can be clear. Anybody else on the line?
Okay. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't understand why the city tax has a sewer charge on it when we get charged sewage on their water bill already. They are charging us for a debt for management of the city. We filed bankruptcy. We, my eyeball, they did it.
Well,
And
tomorrow,
in doing so, the
tomorrow
Bible says,
evening,
please let me finish. Please let me finish. Because it affects every citizen in this city. Now, I was told don't go to the courts by myself. I call on every citizen in the city of Detroit to come to collect what is due. Now, I'm going to be out and about.
right. Well, you need to
And
be
if you
out and
want to
about
know
tomorrow
what the Vatican
evening.
ordered that they offset your debt so you don't have to keep paying these bills.
Right,
And
right.
you don't have to pay to go into Belial. We are the Native Americans, and our DNA has proof.
Yeah, that's true. We're down to our last
So
couple of
sorry
minutes.
for that.
Tomorrow
I
evening
what the
at
people said.
tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock, you should go to Third New Hope Church because the city council is going to be there at 7 p.m. And you can do your presentation, which will be shown on television. That way, more people will get an understanding of what you're sharing. Our subject this morning has been the issue of Reverend David Bullock and the fact that people are now, we're asking people to come to the City Hall at 12050 Woodward Avenue on the corner of California at 1 o'clock. And then at 2 o'clock, go into the courtroom to find out what they have to say about the police officer who never should have been on the Highland Park Police Department in the first place. So anyway, that's today at 1 o'clock, but I really appreciate you calling, even though we weren't talking about that issue. We need to make sure that people understand what is going on this afternoon at 1 p.m. Deetta, you have some last minutes you want to say? We're at the end of the show.
I just want to say, Metro Detroit, that if there ever was a time for us to show up in numbers, to demonstrate our strength in numbers, today is that day. We need to be at 12050 Woodward Avenue. That is the municipal building in the city of Highland Park. A rally at 1 p.m. to show Reverend David Alexander Bullock, a.k.a. Reverend Dr. Fearless, that we support him in everything that he does, that we appreciate him for everything that he has done for us and for everything that he will do for us in the future. We must encourage and love him, and we must bring him our financial gifts. So please bring a gift with you, no matter how small, how large. Show him that you support him. And Theo, thank you so much for the opportunity. You and Kapiti have been the best. You always are. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. And know this, that 16400 is a convenience store that was organized by Reverend David Bullock. Just to give you an example of something else that he has done for the benefit of the community. Black-owned, black-operated, black employees, and we need to support that to let him know we appreciate him as well. It is 16400 West 7 Mile on the corner of Asbury Park. But we look forward to you being there today at 12050, as the other says, Woodward Avenue on the corner of California Street, 1 p.m. today. And at the end of the show, I like to say it's not necessary for you to know everything, but what is necessary is for you to know how to find what you need it, when you need it, where you need it. And we at Hood Research seek out as much information as we can to help us all make better informed decisions, Thabiti.
I'd like to say two things. First, I hope that all of you are registered to vote, and the primary is coming up, and this is one way we can flex our political muscle, and it's absolutely necessary. Situations like this indeed show us that what our unity can do. So be at 12050 Woodward at 1 o'clock today in support of Reverend David Alexander Bullock. The second thing is, if you want to be nothing, do nothing. But the only problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished.
That's right. Vote no on the proposal on August the 7th. Tune in again next week. And now,
stay tuned for Get in the Know with
Marley B.